Hey everyone, and welcome back. Let's be real for a second. Becoming a parent is amazing, but it kind of throws a wrench in the whole sleep thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
One minute you're sleeping like an adult, and the next you're in this world of conflicting advice about baby sleep, what to
Hmm.
do, what not to do, and even some pretty scary warnings sometimes.
Right.
So, if you're feeling lost in the world of baby sleep, you're definitely not alone.
Absolutely.
Today's podcast is all about baby sleep, and we're going to decode what the science actually says. And don't worry, we'll be busting some myths along the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm joined by an expert today who's amazing at cutting through the noise and getting to what really matters. So
Huh.
let's just jump right into that big question. Why are babies such notoriously light sleepers?
Hmm.
Is it just us? Or is sleeping like a baby actually a total myth?
You're so right. That phrase is, well, it's pretty misleading.
Ah,
Babies do sleep a lot, especially newborns. They're clocking in around 16 to 18 hours a day. But their sleep patterns are,
ah.
they're completely different from ours as adults. It's almost like a different system.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. What's going on in those tiny little sleeping brains?
Yeah.
What makes them wake up so easily?
So, one of the key things is that their sleep cycles are way shorter than ours. Adults typically have sleep cycles that are
Yeah.
around 90 minutes long,
Right.
but babies, theirs are only about 50 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And here's the real kicker. Within those short cycles, they spend a lot more time in REM sleep,
Oh, yeah.
that active sleep where we dream.
Hmm.
Adults only have about 20% of their sleep in REM,
Right.
but babies, they're closer to 50%.
They're basically like speed running through their sleep cycles
Yeah.
and having way more dreams than we are.
Exactly.
No wonder they always seem to wake up just when you think they've finally drifted off, like they're on a sleep-wake roller coaster.
Yeah.
And parents are definitely along for the ride.
Haha, you got it. And all that REM sleep means they have less time in deep sleep,
Yeah.
That really restorative sleep that helps us feel refreshed. It's like they're prioritizing rapid brain development over getting that, deep, restful sleep that we crave.
Does this mean that all those frequent wakings are actually necessary? I mean,
Uh-huh.
it seems so counterintuitive, but
Yeah,
are they actually supposed to be waking up between those short cycles?
that's exactly right. Yeah. It might seem strange, but their brains are actually designed to wake up between those short cycles. And get this constant cycling between sleep stages actually helps their brains develop super rapidly,
Wow.
allowing them to process that, huge amount of new information they're getting every day. Think about it. They're learning to recognize voices and faces,
Right.
and even starting to develop those,
Right.
really early communication skills,
All right.
all while they sleep.
That's incredible. It's like their little brains are working overtime,
Yeah.
even when they're supposed to be resting.
Mm-hmm.
So all those little twitches and murmurs we see
Mm-hmm.
could actually be signs of
Yeah.
intense brain activity.
Yep.
That makes me think about all those things we hear about babies learning in their sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Is there actually any truth to that?
Absolutely. Wow.
They're processing all the new information they take in during the day. It's like their brains are replaying and solidifying their experiences while they sleep.
That's amazing.
Okay.
So we know babies sleep differently than adults.
Yeah.
But what about naps? I feel like there's so much pressure out there to get
Yeah.
babies on
Yeah.
the perfect nap schedule.
Yeah.
Do those naps follow that same 50-minute pattern too?
Yes. Naps also follow their shorter cycles.
Yeah.
But this is where it gets interesting. There's actually a lot more variation in nap patterns among babies.
Oh. So
Yeah.
all those ideal nap schedules we see online might not be so accurate after all.
Not necessarily. Some babies are totally happy with a few short naps throughout the day,
Right.
while others prefer one or two longer stretches.
Okay.
And their needs can change as they grow too.
Yeah.
The key is to pay attention to your baby's individual cues and find what works best for them. Not some, random schedule.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So if you're stressing about your baby not napping for a specific amount of time, what should you focus on instead? Instead of obsessing over the clock, look at their overall sleep in a 24-hour period.
Right.
If they're generally happy and healthy, and they're hitting those daily sleep totals, then their nap schedule is probably just fine, really. Don't let those online schedules stress you out.
That makes a lot of sense. It seems like flexibility in following your baby's lead is key, at least when it comes to naps. But what about bedtime? Should that be more structured?
You're right. Bedtime is where consistency is super important. Establishing a predictable routine can really help regulate your baby's internal clock. And get this, waking your baby up at the same time each morning, even if it seems counterintuitive, can actually help them sleep better overall.
Wait, hold on. Waking them up at the same time. Helps them sleep better, that sounds
Yeah.
like. The opposite of what a sleep-deprived parent wants to do.
Uh-huh. I know, right?
Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. Think of it this way. Your baby's internal clock is like a delicate instrument that needs regular tuning. By waking them up at the same time each morning, you're helping set that clock to a consistent rhythm, which makes it easier for them to fall asleep at night.
So, even if it's tempting to let them sleep in after a rough night, sticking to a consistent wake-up time will pay off in the long run.
Absolutely. And while you're at it, make sure they're getting plenty of daylight exposure during the day, too.
Okay.
Sunlight helps solidify their internal clock, making that distinction between day and night even clearer.
So, daylight during the day,
Yeah.
darkness at night. It's like we're helping them understand, like, the natural rhythm of the world.
Right.
But how do we know when they're actually tired? Are there specific signs we should be looking for?
Definitely. Babies give us a lot of cues if we know what to look for. Some common signs of tiredness are eye rubbing, fussiness, yawning, and even changes in their nursing patterns.
So, like, nursing more slowly or falling asleep while feeding.
Exactly.
Those are all things I've definitely noticed with my little one. But I have to admit, sometimes I miss those early cues.
Happens to the best of us.
What happens if we miss those sleepy signals?
Wow. That can lead to the dreaded overtiredness spiral. And trust me, that's something you want to avoid.
Because an overtired baby is 100 times harder to soothe and put to sleep.
Exactly. And it becomes a vicious cycle. They get overtired, they struggle to sleep, and then they wake up even more tired the next day.
Ugh, sounds rough.
It is. If you're looking for more tips on understanding your baby's sleep cues, you can click the link in the description below to learn the techniques based on newest scientific research on baby sleep.
I'll definitely check it out. Yeah. It sounds like recognizing and responding to those early signs of tiredness is key to preventing a meltdown. But what about those times when your baby just seems to need you to fall asleep? Rocking, feeding, patting. Some babies seem to need that extra comfort. What's the best way to handle that?
That's a great question. And it leads us to the fascinating world of sleep associations, something we'll dive into right after the break. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how important it is to recognize those early sleep cues and establish a consistent bedtime routine.
Right.
But there's another piece to this baby sleep puzzle we haven't really touched on yet. The role of parental mindset.
Oh, this is something I've always wondered about. Are you saying that our own attitudes and beliefs about sleep can actually have an impact on our baby's sleep?
It might sound kind of surprising, but research actually suggests it can.
Wow.
Babies are so tuned in to our emotional states. Remember, they spent the first 9 months of their lives literally connected to us.
Right.
So it's only natural that they're sensitive to our moods and energy.
Yeah.
If you're constantly stressed and anxious about their sleep, they kind of pick up on that.
I can see that. It's like they have a built-in emotion radar or something.
Yeah.
So even if we're trying to put on a brave face, they can still sense those underlying worries.
Exactly. They're like little sponges soaking up our energy, whether it's calm or chaotic.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. But realistically,
Yeah.
how are we supposed to manage our own stress and anxiety around sleep? Especially when we're, running on fumes ourselves.
That's a great question. And it's definitely something a lot of parents struggle with. I think it starts with recognizing that sleep challenges are totally normal.
Okay.
Almost all babies go through periods of disrupted sleep. It's just part of their development. It's not a reflection of your parenting skills.
I think that's such an important point. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we're doing something wrong when our baby isn't sleeping well.
For sure. So, instead of viewing those night wakings as failures, try to reframe them as opportunities to connect with your baby and offer comfort. They need you. And those moments of closeness can actually be really special, even at 3 a.m.
I love that perspective shift. It's about finding those little moments of joy amidst all the exhaustion.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to go through this alone. Lean on your partner, talk to friends and family, or even join a support group. Sharing your experiences and knowing you're not alone can make a huge difference.
And of course, there are so many resources available these days, like books, websites, even sleep consultants. If you need extra guidance.
Absolutely. Don't hesitate to reach out for support if you need it. You're not meant to figure this out all by yourself, but amidst all the advice and information out there, it's so important to trust your instincts.
Yeah.
You know your baby better than anyone.
So ibi hubis. Even if well-meaning friends or family members offer advice that doesn't feel right, We should listen to our own gut feelings.
You got it. You are the expert on your baby. It's great to gather information and consider different approaches, but ultimately, you have to do what feels right for you and your family.
That's such a relief to hear. Sometimes it feels like there's so much pressure to do things a certain way, but at the end of the day, we need to trust ourselves and our ability to figure this out.
Exactly. And remember, there's no such thing as the perfect sleeper or the perfect parent. Just do your best. Be patient and celebrate those small victories along the way.
Okay, so we've talked about routines, mindset, and trusting our instincts.
Yeah.
But one question I know is on every parent's mind is, when will my baby finally sleep through the night?
Ha. That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
And unfortunately, there's no magic answer. Every baby is different. Some might start sleeping longer stretches as early as a few months old,
Right.
while others might not sleep through the night until closer to a year or even older.
So there's a wide range of what's considered normal.
Absolutely. And even the definition of sleeping through the night can vary for some parents. It means a solid 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. For others, it might mean a 5 or 6 hour stretch.
So it's all about finding what works for your family and your individual baby.
You got it. And please, don't get discouraged if your baby isn't sleeping through the night yet. It will happen eventually. In the meantime, focus on creating a consistent routine, responding to your baby's cues, managing your own stress, and trusting the process.
It's a journey, not a destination, right?
Yep.
Speaking of developmental stages, we often hear that babies are more prone to developing sleep associations around 6 weeks of age. Is there any truth to that?
There's definitely some evidence to support that. Yeah. Around 6 weeks, babies become more aware of their surroundings and their needs. They're also starting to develop preferences.
So, if they're consistently rocked or fed to sleep during this time, they might start to associate those actions with falling asleep.
Exactly. But it doesn't mean you can never rock or feed your baby to sleep. It's more about being mindful that if it's the only way they fall asleep, they might start to rely on it as the only way to drift off.
So it's about balance and offering a variety of comforting strategies, rather than relying too heavily on just one.
You nailed it. And remember, it's never too late to start encouraging more independent sleep habits. Even if your baby has already developed some strong sleep associations, you can gently guide them towards self-soothing.
So,
Yeah.
even if you find yourself rocking or feeding your baby to sleep every night, don't panic. There are things you can do to help them develop those self-soothing skills. And if you need some extra guidance on this, click the link in the description below to learn the techniques based on newest scientific research on baby sleep.
That's a great resource for any parent who's
Oh.
feeling overwhelmed or unsure about how to approach sleep training.
Yeah,
And speaking of sleep training, I know there are a lot of different methods out there.
there are. And it can be so confusing trying to figure out which one is right for your family.
Absolutely. Choosing a sleep training method is a very personal decision. First and foremost, you want to consider your baby's temperament and your own parenting style. Some babies respond well to more gradual methods, while others might need a more structured approach. Some parents are comfortable with a bit of crying, while others prefer a no-tears approach.
It's all about finding a method that feels aligned with your values and your baby's needs.
Exactly. And remember, what works for one family might not work for another. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
So it's okay to experiment and try different things until you find what feels best for your unique situation.
Absolutely. And don't hesitate to reach out for help from a certified sleep consultant if you need it. They can offer personalized guidance and support.
That's a great point. No matter which method you choose, though, consistency is key, right?
Absolutely. Babies thrive on predictability and routine. Once you've decided on a plan, stick with it as much as possible.
Yeah. Even if it's tough at first, and you're tempted to give in and go back to your old habits, stay the course.
Right. It might take a few days or even a few weeks, but eventually your baby will adjust to the new routine.
And hopefully, everyone will start getting a little more sleep. But what if they're still waking up for night feedings? When is it okay to start weaning them off those?
That's another common question. And again, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on your baby's age, weight, and overall health. But here's the good news. Babies often outgrow the need for nighttime feeding sooner than parents realize.
Oh, so how do we know if they're truly ready to drop those night feedings?
Pay close attention to their cues. Are they waking up truly hungry, or are they just using feeding as a way to soothe themselves back to sleep? If they're gaining weight appropriately and seem content during the day, they might be ready to start scratching those nighttime feeds a bit further apart.
So It's another gradual process of listening to our babies
Mm-hmm.
and responding accordingly.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment a bit. Maybe try offering a smaller amount of milk or formula at night, or see if they'll settle back to sleep with some other form of comfort, like rocking or cuddling, if you're unsure. Talk to your pediatrician for personalized guidance.
That's great advice, and I think it's so important to remember that even though those sleepless nights can feel long, this stage won't last forever.
You're absolutely right. This too shall pass. Those sleepless nights won't last forever. Eventually, your baby will sleep through the night, and you'll be able to enjoy those precious moments of rest and rejuvenation.
When that happens, you'll be even more equipped to handle the next stage of parenthood, whatever that may be.
Ah, that's the truth.
But in the meantime, we should remember those small victories and celebrate every step in the right direction.
Exactly. Celebrate those wins, big or small. And remember that you're doing an amazing job. Parenthood is challenging, but it's also an incredibly rewarding journey.
And if you're looking for more tips and techniques to help you along the way, click the link in the description below to learn the techniques based on newest scientific research on baby sleep.
Great idea.
It's full of valuable information and practical strategies that can make a real difference for your family.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power when it comes to baby sleep. And remember, you're not alone in this. There's a whole community of parents out there going through the same challenges and triumphs. Reach out for support, trust your instincts, and celebrate those little victories along the way.
That's a beautiful reminder. But before we go, there's one last thing I'm curious about. We've talked a lot about the science of sleep in like those first few months.
Yeah.
But
As our babies get bigger.
their sleep needs change too, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, definitely. As they get older, they'll naturally need less overall sleep. But even as they move from babyhood to toddlerhood and beyond, we can still support those healthy sleep habits. It's all about building a solid foundation for good sleep, you know, throughout their lives.
So this isn't just about surviving those first few months of sleepless nights. We're actually shaping their long-term sleep health.
Exactly. And those early habits can have a huge impact on their physical and mental well-being. We're not just talking about the quantity of sleep either, but also the quality. We want to make sure they're getting enough of that deep, restorative sleep.
Okay, so how do we make sure they're getting that kind of sleep as they grow?
A lot of the same principles still apply. A consistent bedtime routine, a dark and quiet sleep environment, and limited screen time before bed. Those are all super important. But as they get older, you can also start incorporating other healthy habits that can support good sleep, like regular exercise and a balanced diet.
So it's like we're creating a whole sleep ecosystem for them.
Uh-huh. That's a great way to put it. It's a holistic approach, recognizing that sleep is connected to so many other aspects of their well-being. And the best part, it's never too early or too late to start making positive changes.
So whether you're a new parent navigating those first few months, or you're looking for ways to improve your toddler's sleep, there's always something you can do.
Absolutely. And if you're feeling lost or overwhelmed, remember there's a ton of information available for evidence-based strategies to help your little ones sleep better. Click the link in the description below to learn the techniques based on newest scientific research on baby sleep.
That's a great resource. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of parents out there facing the same joys and challenges. Reach out for support, trust your instincts, and celebrate those little victories along the way.
You got it. And don't forget to savor those precious moments with your little one, even amidst the sleep deprivation. This stage goes by so quickly. Cherish every cuddle, every lullaby, every sleepy smile. What a lovely thought. Before we wrap up, I have to ask you this. If babies are really processing information and learning in their sleep, what kind of dreams do you think they have?
That's such a fascinating question. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? We can't know for sure, but I imagine their dreams are full of vivid colors and sounds and all those amazing new experiences they're soaking up each day.
Maybe they're even dreaming of sleeping through the night.
Haha, maybe they are. And hopefully, those peaceful nights are just around the corner for all of us. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of baby sleep. We hope you've learned some valuable insights and feel empowered to navigate the wonderful, sometimes sleepy, world of parenthood. Sweet dreams, everyone.